Hello, and welcome to the Lone Star Collective, the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective. I'm Chris Crisolia, your host, and I am joined this week by our co-host, Austin Zamhariri. Let me get him in here.
Yo,
What do you say,
what's up,
Austin?
Texas?
And our very special guest, let's bring in Shaun McAlister of DFW Norml. What do you say, Shaun?
Hi,
How you doing?
Texas. Hi, and howdy doobie. What's up with you?
Doing good, doing good. How are y'all?
Amazing.
We are here
How
this
am
week
I?
to talk about.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Shaun. I'm sorry.
Oh, you asked me. I was going to answer. I thought that was the
Go
format.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm good, man. I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad that we're about to throw the biggest marijuana march in Texas history. So let's get into it.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about. The 2023 Texas Marijuana March and Freedom Festival coming up on October 14th in none other than historic downtown Fort Worth at Burnex Park. Tell us a little bit more about it, Shaun, and what kind of things people can expect in terms of just what the city and how the city reacts to this whole event.
Gladly. So the biggest fear that I see every year from people who want to attend an event like this but don't is they're afraid that they're walking into a police trap. And I see all kinds of funny comments where people, say what they want to say about the people who are trying to change cannabis laws. But the reality is the city of Fort Worth, the Office of Special Events, Emergency Services, MedStar, Fort Worth PD, they like us. They like working with us and have worked with us every year since 2013 to host this event and keep it safe. And what's really crazy is all these people who are afraid to come and have their voices heard and be arrested when it's basically a pink pass to come and smoke weed in public. And, there's all kinds of photo proof from a decade of us doing this that we're in the streets, being civilly disobedient with a police escort, protesting outdated and cruel cannabis laws. So it's laughable that people would discourage others from attending an event like this when it's the only time you're going to get in the state of Texas not busted for weed, at least smoking it blatantly and publicly in front of cops.
No
Let's be
doubt.
let's be honest, fellas, and I've started calling it this. This is the biggest cannabis protest in the South in
Yeah.
2023. Right? We're going to be unmatched. All right. We're going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of people show up and line up and march through the streets of downtown Fort Worth, all the way to past the Tim Curry Correctional Facility, which is the Tarrant County the Tarrant County Jail, all the way to the Tarrant County Courthouse. And this isn't our first rodeo, no pun intended. But the momentum is building, not just in this march, but the momentum is building in cannabis in the state of Texas. And you will see plenty of the evidence. People tend to look for the evidence. You're going to see the evidence of the amount of people that show up in support to exercise their First Amendment right and protest these bad marijuana laws that are outdated by at least 100 years. So I'm very excited for it, guys.
Yeah, me too. I think, the one aspect that we haven't really talked about much outside of this group of just us, the planning committee, because folks, if you don't understand it, the folks behind this whole thing, you're looking at them here tonight. This is the planning committee for the entire
The planning
2023
committee.
Texas Marijuana March and Freedom Festival.
Yeah, these three
This
stoners.
from way back when. Well, maybe I'm the only one from way back when. But anyway, uh, we've talked about this a few times. We talked about it earlier because we just finished up our planning meeting before going live here on this show and here tonight. And the interesting thing is we've had good turnouts. We had a super good turnout last year, and we didn't do any kind of marketing, any kind of advertising, anything last year outside of the social media realm, right? And this year, Well, Austin, let's just let you give a little breakdown of what all kind of advertising and media we have going on this year.
Um, I don't know where to start. We have more sponsors for this event than we've ever had before. Big shout out to our sponsors: Thrive Apothecary, CBD Pros, Good Blend Texas, Grav Labs out of Austin.
Yep.
Our media sponsors: Texas Cannabis TV, as well as Weed and Whiskey TV. Just really thankful for the sponsors that jumped on, and so
Good blend.
we have all of them putting it out through their vast networks. And if you don't know their vast networks, some of them are multi-state, national, and some are global. So like, we definitely have some heavy hitters as far as sponsors go. We have a wonderful curated set list of vendors who are also pushing it out. I mentioned Texas Cannabis TV and Weed and Whiskey TV. These are two big accounts that have a tremendous influence and reach. I know that Weed and Whiskey is on Roku TV and that they're putting out informational productions every week throughout their platform. Texas Cannabis TV, a long ally of the collective. We've done a lot of work together, most notably the Roundup back in August. And then also the socials have gotten bigger. They've gotten better. And then we also invested in print material that has been distributed not only throughout North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Denton, Collin County, and Plano and Frisco, but also in other places around the state as well. And then we invested in Spotify advertising, and per our last meeting, we're anticipating getting a reach on that of 100,000 people hearing our Spotify ad for the March.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty bad.
So
that's literally more people than have ever known about one of these events of ours. That alone, right there, is more people. So, and that only, what did we pay on that? Like silly budget for that turnaround. So, the fact that this many people are now aware of it, when all we wanted was to just even let people know this was a thing. I think it's huge. I think we could see a significantly larger turnout. I certainly hope we do. And I think we deserve it. I think the people want it. They're ready for it. This is a big event. And, I think maybe one day the legislature will take notice to thousands and thousands of people taking it to the streets to protest unjust laws, because they have the power to change lives and save lives and make this state better instantly by just changing a couple of old dumb laws that aren't really serving us anymore.
Absolutely. And I will say to that effect that, hopefully we do have a big turnout, because, something that I keep joking on the podcast here that our audience might get tired of hearing me say, but all the polls say that 67%, roughly, that's the average, 67% of the people say just legalize it already, in terms of speaking about the people of Texas. And, when you think about that, the massive number of people that would be if they were to get involved, I mean, that's over 19 million people when you do the math and break it down. So if we could have, say 5, maybe 10,000 people show up in downtown Fort Worth on the 14th, that would be a massive showing and would definitely open some eyes, I think, in the legislature and maybe even in the governor's office,
It would certainly be newsworthy, whereas oftentimes our events barely even scratch the 24-hour news cycle, which seems silly, but hey, whatever, corporate money.
Sure.
But you get 5,000 people out there, it's going to be hard not to report on something like that, especially since we're like right over by the Star Telegram. So
I will also expound upon that it is more than necessary for us to continue to exercise our First Amendment rights, because in this last legislative session in 2023, we got a big fat whopping 0 at the legislature. And now, don't get me wrong, there were some political dynamics, mainly the the attorney general getting impeached at the end of the legislative session that really kind of clouded a lot of legislation, not just cannabis legislation. But we got a big fat donut at the legislature, and we don't have another opportunity really outside of some kind of crazy addition throughout the special session coming up here in October. But we really don't have another opportunity to do anything legislatively until 2025, right? So we got a fat zero, big zero in the legislature. And then on top of that, we've had several local smoke shops, Little Elm, Grand Prairie, Garland, all being raided by local law enforcement, DEA, all of this for what are considered legal hemp isomers. And so the whole point of this march is that we're getting across is that we have to stop the arrests. We have to stop the criminalization. This is legal in most of the populace of the country. It's wildly supported. It's legal to the west of us, all the way to the coast. It's de facto legal through the medical program in Oklahoma. We have a far more progressive medical program in Arkansas. The country of Mexico has even better medical, cannabis laws than the state of Texas. So the necessity for us to continue to gather and exercise our First Amendment right to protest our government peacefully, this is an American right. This is an American tradition. This is what the founding fathers built the entire Constitution on, right? And so by us doing this, we are really providing American spirit into what is an American issue, and that is cannabis reform. And I'm proud to be on this mission with you guys, and I'm excited to once again be on the streets with you guys.
With that being said, we're going to have to take a quick sponsor break right quick because, we got to pay for things. When we come back, though, I want to dive into what people can expect when they come to the event at, the march is the march that starts at 4:20 to the courthouse and back by 5:30. But we'll want to dive into, vendors and all that good stuff of what people can expect when we come back after this sponsor break. And we'll do that right after this, folks.
We welcome everyone to the 2023 Texas Marijuana March and Freedom Festival on Saturday, October 14th in downtown Fort Worth at Burnett Park. Come join other Texans as we march against bad cannabis laws, exercising our First Amendment rights.
Howdy, Colt Power here. These days, many people are choosing to add CBD to their wellness routine. Why? Some like CBD for how it may help them with their focus. Others enjoy the way the plant compound may assist them with their sore muscles and relaxation. For me, CBD has been a game changer in keeping my old sports injuries managed so I can work out and be present for my family. If you've ever been curious about CBD, I invite you to check out our Texas-grown, Texas-made products at powerbiofarms.com. That's power, BIOPHARMS.com.
Thrive Apothecary offers an experience truly unique from anything else in Texas. A full-service cannabis solution that is doctor-owned and offers customers every level of cannabis legally available in Texas. From traditional CBD products to emerging hemp-derived THC edibles, smokables, and now medical cannabis. As a licensed medical cannabis provider, prospective patients from anywhere in Texas can book a sponsored online eligibility consultation to determine if they qualify for a medical marijuana prescription from the comfort of their own home. Visit thrivetx.com for more information.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective podcast, the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective, distributed on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and many more, to give Texans information regarding policy, industry, and culture. And now, back to this week's show.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Collective podcast, the official podcast of the Texas Cannabis Collective. I'm your host, Chris Grisolia, and I'm joined this week by our co-host, Austin Zamperiri, and our special guest, Shaun McAlister of DFW Norml. Welcome back, guys.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
So we're talking about the upcoming 2023 Texas Marijuana March and Freedom Festival, and we've been talking about all the planning and how the city loves us, and the police department loves us, the fire department loves us, Office of Emergency Management loves us, and we left out one little thing I want to point out right quick before we move on. In our meeting with the city that we had yesterday, and to finalize all the details, the very last screen on their agenda that comes up, it's funny because they've done it 2 years in a row now, is the screen, the puzzle from what's the damn game
Wheel
show?
of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune puzzle board. And basically it's 2 words. It says S blank 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 E. And then the last word is 4 letters, which is has a W blank blank and D. And it's just funny. Can you solve the puzzle? Of course, absolutely, we can solve the puzzle. But it just goes to show you how much they really do love us and our event. But with that being said, I want to kind of dive into what people can expect outside of the actual march, which, like we said earlier, starts at 4:20 to the courthouse. Then we have some speakers. Then we march back. We've got vendors, folks, to the tune of 34 different vendor booths that will be set up. These are anything from we've got kettle corn vendor this year, which we've never had before. We've got a massage vendor that has different CBD massage creams and stuff that they use. They're actually, I think, going to be offering massages on site that day, like shoulder massages and things like that. We've got, of course, a wide range of different CBD vendors and whatnot. We've got our sponsors with Thrive Apothecary, which is our premier sponsor that we mentioned earlier. Good Blend, which is one of our silver sponsors, returning again after last year. And then the fact that we have CBD Pros as a sponsor this year, which is awesome. And then we have Grav Labs as a sponsor, which is all of these sponsors will have vendor booths set up at the event, folks. So
can we just take a second and acknowledge that fucking Grav Labs is sponsoring this event? I mean, I've been a pot smoker in the state of Texas for a long time, guys, and that is an iconic name for Texas cannabis consumers. Grav Labs. I've seen that shit in every smoke shop my entire cannabis career.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were like, yeah, we want to sponsor that to me is so redeeming, because that's a business that maybe 10 years ago wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that, sponsoring an event like this, because of the state of the laws in Texas. And the laws aren't that different now. And yet they are comfortable sponsoring this because they know that they have a role to play. And so I just think it's so cool that Grav Labs, especially, that was such a surprise when y'all brought that to one of our meetings. I'm still tickled by that.
Well, we can credit that one to Austin.
They're gonna be raffling off a bunch of their exotic pieces. They're gonna be bringing their game. All right. So and really all of our sponsors are Thrive, CBD Pros, Good Blend.
Tell our listeners what Thrive's planning on for this event. Well,
tell us,
Austin.
I think you can anticipate for the first 100 people that show up, definitely a goodie package, probably a joint, maybe an edible. They're gonna bring it. We're gonna bring it thick. If you
no way.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is what I'm telling people. I imagine a lot of the vendors there are gonna have some kind of goodie of some kind. If you show up to this event and you don't get a lot of sample product, you simply did not come to this event, because there is going to be a lot of opportunity for you to sample a bunch of different product. You're going to get to meet a bunch of local vendors. When I say local, none of these vendors, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, none of these vendors are out of state. every single vendor at this event is from the state of Texas.
Is a Texas vendor, yes.
Mostly
Absolutely.
in North Texas, but every single vendor is from the state of Texas, right? So this
and
Texas
the thing that's ironic, is we started having in the last few weeks. I still have people reaching out to me asking me for vendor spots. So we might have to consider a bigger venue in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
But literally we've had vendors reach out as far as El Paso and Houston wanting, but at the time they reached out, we had already sold out. So we could have actually had vendors from as far as El Paso coming to this event. So that's just awesome.
And so let's segue on that. So there's already 34 vendors. Not only are there going to be, cannabis vendors, but we're also going to have a lot of organizations represented, right?
Sure.
We're going to have the Libertarian Party there. We're going to have the People's Party of Texas there. We're going to have DFW Harm Redux there, talking about the war on drugs. We're going to have FIJA there. We're going to have Ground Game Texas there, who's been responsible for a lot of the decriminalization campaigns across Texas, who we've worked very intimately with across the state of Texas. So we're going to have, when you come, when I say that this is the closest thing to a marijuana festival in the state of Texas that you can get, legit, you will not find anything like this anywhere in the state of Texas at any other time of the year.
No,
you're fucking right. You won't. And you know what the closest thing you're gonna find is some cannabis expo that charges you $90 for a ticket to come and listen to some speakers and panelists and see 200 vendors. All right. Yeah. Cool. None of that is changing cannabis laws in a meaningful way, and nobody's consuming their cannabis as an act of civil disobedience in places like that. It's not. It doesn't stand for anything. It's just like a bunch of transactions, and that's cool. I love transactions, but it is not exercising your freedom the way showing up and burning a joint, or not even burning a joint, just standing up and saying, you know what? I don't subscribe to this. I think we can do better, Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everybody has a great time. It's magical. A lot of Americans don't have the opportunity to truly exercise their First Amendment right. Yeah, we know about the freedom of religion. We know about the freedom of press. But there's not a lot of Americans who have truly exercised their First Amendment right to protest their government for redress of grievances, right? And so what we're able to provide with this event is the opportunity for Americans to literally exercise their constitutional rights.
Yeah.
And it truly is a surreal experience to show up, stand with hundreds of other people for the same cause, to march on, to walk on the streets of downtown of a major metropolitan city in the state of Texas, openly consuming cannabis right next to law enforcement who are shutting down the streets for us. It's a pretty crazy experience that people are like, I can't believe that we're doing this, not only in the state of Texas, but in the city of Fort Worth, which is the biggest conservative city in the state of Texas.
I
Right.
can tell you the first time that I got involved with the whole event was in 2018, and it was when Shaun and Jessica had reached out to me and asked me to speak. Excuse me. And my best friend and I came down together, and we were like what Shaun was saying earlier, about people being just completely, paranoid. That's what we were. We were like, oh God, in fact, I told him, I said, you're only going to bring enough cannabis with us that when we're done, we get in the truck to leave and come home. We don't have anything on us, because that way, if we get pulled over, we get stopped, we ain't got nothing to worry about. And it was kind of crazy, because we still had that faint little bit of that feeling as we were getting in the truck to leave. But in reality, we knew deep down, after witnessing the march and the police there doing nothing but leading the way, basically. We knew there was nothing to worry about. And after that, now I know there's nothing to worry about. This is like the fifth one for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because the dynamic is these same cops will absolutely bust your ass 364 days out of the year in the city of Fort Worth because they're doing their job and enforcing current state of cannabis prohibition. But you get we'll call it a green pass on October 14th, and that's because we choose to interact with the city and to involve them in our First Amendment free speech event when we don't have to. We don't have to involve the police department. The Constitution is my permit on this matter. The only thing I need is a place to have the event, and that's the DFWI. That's the city of Fort Worth, not even emergency services. So they don't even care politically about what we're doing as long as we got the money and we pay for the plaza. So the fact that we seek out the police here, right? Instead of avoiding them because of the contents of our pocket, the fact that we seek them out, I believe that over the last 10 years of creating this event and hosting it safely with their involvement each year, and it's getting a little bigger each time, and they're becoming more comfortable each time, and they're getting more friendly with us every year and joking around with us more, and the whole weed slide at the end of every yearly meeting that we have. All these things, people have no idea that they're occurring. And they would have no idea that they're occurring unless they show up and see it for themselves, because they're not going to see it on social media. Social media is shadow banning weed stuff left and right. The only way people are going to see this stuff on social media is days after, when people are posting it. So them missing out on their opportunity to exercise this First Amendment free speech is just a heartbreak to me. I don't want anyone to miss it if they can.
Speaking about the shadow banning, just to FYI, the whole meta universe has shut this live broadcast down tonight. They would not allow it on Facebook or Instagram.
Does that happen to you guys often?
No, this is the first time.
You know what? I fucking wonder why. Huh?
Yeah.
It's because we're doing something big here. We're doing something big and different here. And the algorithm knows that. The algorithm's programmed to know all the things. So it easily identified that this is going to be an interesting episode. You've got a controversial person on the episode that you either love me or hate me. And I wondered if the audience would be impacted in any meaningful way. I think it's awesome that they shadow ban this episode. That means we're doing something right, y'all. That means if the algorithm is actively trying to block our progression here, then that means somebody somewhere doesn't like what we're doing, and that just seems like the whole point of civil disobedience, doesn't it?
LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube are letting it run, baby. So
yeah, LinkedIn is for business people. They don't give a shit about weed. Twitter, Elon Musk doesn't give a shit about weed. That man smokes weed. Why would he give a shit? No, it's silly. You know what the really silly thing about the shadow ban thing, like the biggest peak of the shadow ban silliness, in my estimation, is that these companies are keeping all these weed businesses from giving them money.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a shareholder for Facebook and I've got a fiduciary duty, fancy words of saying it is my sole responsibility to ensure that our business turns a profit, I am an idiot for shutting away an industry that is looking to give away money just to reach more people. And that is cannabis, man.
Yeah. Listen, guys, before we wrap everything up, I do also want to touch on one other thing about the march. You may be coming for the vendors, you may be coming for the march to exercise your First Amendment right. We certainly encourage that. That ain't it, y'all. We got a special DJ coming from Austin. We've got performers that are going to be doing some wonderful fair acts. We've got a street magician, Richie Flo, who's going to be coming out and entertaining the people. We're going to have stilt walkers. We're going to have face painters. We're going to have a tarot card reader. We're really leaning into the festival side of this. because we recognize that the wall of prohibition in Texas is going to fall. It's not a matter of if, it is when, right? And so we're confident that this is certainly something that is going to happen within this decade, and we are going to be very responsible for making that happen. But in the meantime, we know that this event is going to continue after marijuana is legalized, after cannabis, whole plant cannabis reform has come to pass in the state of Texas. And so because we realize that, we want to make sure that this event turns into something that is sustainable in the future. And so when it's not a protest any longer, it will be a parade, it will be a festival. And so we're working on showcasing a lot of local talent to get people excited, get people entertained, get people ready for the future of what cannabis has to offer in the state of Texas. So it's something you really don't want to miss out on. There's going to be so much to do. You're literally going to show up, and you're going to, like, jaws are going to drop. People are going to be like, oh my God, like, what did we come to?
Yeah. Everybody I know that's ever never been, that comes for the first time, that's their reaction is, oh, wow, really? Right here downtown?
Yeah. And all of a sudden, as a cannabis consumer in a prohibition state, you do not feel so alone, because you see how many people agree, so many that they're willing to show up and march in the streets for it. And earlier we talked about like the number of people who think we should legalize in Texas. Presumably that number is actually way lower than it really is, because when a stranger calls you up and says, hey, how do you feel about legal weed? I would think that a fair amount of people are still hesitant to answer honestly on that question.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm guessing it's probably closer to 80%. Okay. So, like, if you think about the fact that 80% of Texans theoretically either consume cannabis or support it in some way, well, that's a lot of people, and we have a lot of power, and we can do something with that. And leaning into the festival side of this means we're acknowledging that prohibition sucks, but we can still have a good time in the meantime, right? Because building community involves having a good time. And
Absolutely.
I think that we've suffered prohibition long enough. We deserve a good time with cannabis once a year, right?
We can protest and celebrate at the same time, guys.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And then I wanted to, you touched on our awesome DJ from Austin. Let me just give her like an actual shout out here, because this is Yahweh Music from Austin, okay? She is a festival DJ. She tours on a festival circuit. She plays very good music that will connect you with your inner self, with people around you. It will be a peace-loving electronic vibe. It'll be like going to an electronic music festival, because we have an actual working professional entertaining us. And she's doing us this great 2-hour set for a deal for what she would charge anybody else. And it's because she believes in this too. Before we even have a signed contract with Yahweh, she already made a heartfelt post about how she felt about this, encouraging people to join us and take to the streets and participate in this and come see her in the process. And that's a partner that we have created in this artist who's out there spreading love and trying to raise the vibrations of the state of Texas, which is what we're doing. So it's in perfect alignment. And so I just wanted to say thank you to Yahweh. I hope she sees this. Thank you so much for blessing us with your awesome music. I know that the city of Fort Worth is going to love what you have to offer. And I think that people are going to just be delighted by how the music makes them feel when they're enjoying their favorite cannabis products.
Absolutely. And I got one final thought to throw in before we go, because we're about out of time. But talking about the festival effect and whatnot that we're going for this year, I've had some people that have reached out to me and said, we'd love to come to that event, but Texas being such a big state, we live way over here, San Angelo or Corpus Christi and whatnot, and I'm like, well, guess what? We just so happen to be having this event simultaneously with the Texas State Fair. So, you could make a whole weekend out of it.
Right.
Come to the cannabis event, the Marijuana March and Freedom Festival on Saturday, spend the night, go to the state fair on Sunday. You can make a family affair out of it, because this is truly a family friendly event. This is not for stoners and like a bunch of people think. One thing we hadn't mentioned tonight that I wanted to be sure and point out is you will be amazed not only by the number of people that are around you and by not feeling alone, as Shaun pointed out, but you will also be amazed by the diversity of the group. And I don't just mean by race, I mean by age, because it is every age group that exists. And more and more and more, what I'm seeing, I don't know about you two guys, but more and more as each year passes, what I'm seeing are more people that look like me, older.
Indeed, because they're less afraid. Yeah, they're less afraid. They get the opportunity while they still have time here on this beautiful earth of ours. They get the opportunity to participate in something they maybe have believed in their entire life, and they've been afraid to, because they don't want to go to jail for believing in something controversial. And
absolutely.
I feel that kind of the same way when I see people bringing their kids. I'm looking back right now. I have this Facebook album up of our first ever Fort Worth Global Marijuana March, May 5th, 2013. Well, the very first photos is somebody's baby sitting in my lap wearing a weed bandana, and it's, even though cannabis isn't necessarily for that baby in that instance, that baby can be impacted by cannabis laws at any moment, through their parents or their siblings. Or just a crooked officer planting some drugs on them, and that's that. And so, like, I see these photos of these babies that they were babies 10 years ago. Now they're probably like looking more like I did when I first started doing this stuff. And I'm looking more like you, Chris. I got more gray than when I started. I look at these photos and I'm like, man, my hair was all brown. Holy shit. I don't even remember what that was like.
That was a while back.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that about wraps it up, unless you got any other further thoughts.
Yeah, I would just close with, I want to encourage people to give this event a chance. Don't be afraid. Don't let cannabis prohibition continue to force you to live in fear all the time. This is an opportunity to get out there, see some businesses that support your rights as a cannabis consumer right now, not when it's convenient and safe later, but right now during prohibition. And it's your opportunity to get out there and meet them and find a business that could change your life. Be like, wow, there's a cannabis shop right down the street from me selling really high quality product. I met him at the Marijuana March. I might shop there for the rest of my life. You can form really lasting, meaningful connections with people like I have with you guys. What I consider a lifelong friendships that we have now developed through sharing this common purpose and belief that Texas deserves better. And we can do our part in some small way by standing up and being heard and gathering peacefully and letting the state of Texas know that we're not going anywhere. The crowd's getting bigger every year, and we would like to come out into the light of liberty more than once a day, if possible.
Yeah, more than once a year. Yeah.
Or more than once a year. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I smoke weed in public every day. I don't know if everybody does that. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, more than once a year, if possible, I mean to say. And, just that one feeling, once you feel that for the first time, thousands of, even hundreds of people that are of like mind, and you're walking through the streets and you got a joint being passed to you by a stranger while the Fort Worth PD are blocking traffic for you as you walk by. You'll never forget that. That will be a feeling that you will want to chase in the future. And that's what legalization can bring to us, is cops that leave us alone over this plant. And so coming here and getting a tiny little taste of what it could be like, it can change your life if you let it.
Absolutely.
Just like this little Sphinx cat changed my life.
Any final thoughts, Austin?
Before we close out, I just really want to give some special shout outs to all of the activists. There's going to be a lot of activists there who have done a lot of important work throughout the state. So veterans, the Texas Veterans for Medical Cannabis are going to be there represented. We're going to have some top tier activists who are active at the legislature. Obviously, we're going to be there. We're going to have some tremendous speakers that are going to be speaking intermittently throughout the event at the park and as well at the courthouse. Big shout out to Vincent Norml, the Texas Cannabis Hall of Fame CEO from Chicago will be there. We're going to have Mother Earth from Dallas is going to be there. We're going to have Ray Geis from Ritter Spitzer Chang, who's going to be gracing us with her presence. We're going to have Blair Henderson from Houston, who's going to be sharing his knowledge about cannabis and fitness. We have when I say we have a star study cast, we have Charlo Green, who's going to be our grand marshal.
Yeah.
All right. If you don't know who Charlo Green is, go look up Charlo Green. All right.
No doubt.
All right. Talk about somebody who put it all on the line for cannabis. She's going to be our grand marshal.
Iconic. I just want to. Can we just do her quote real quick in honor of Charlo and how ballsy she was to do
Absolutely.
that?
Throw it out there.
Okay, on 3, gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. Fuck it. I quit. On live TV. That's how much I believe in what I believe in.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
They run a store here in Grand Prairie, North Texas, Texas Hemp Club, and so they're going to be there representing. She's going to be leading our march, along with the Truth Car, and also the march will be followed up by the Good Blend bus.
Well, you left out a national name with the Colton Turner Foundation as well.
Yeah, we're going to have Shaun Salvahio, one of our veteran speaker there. Colt DeMorris is going to be there to speak. We got Robert Head from Hemp, Victory for Hemp is going to be speaking. We've got, the who's who of Texas cannabis is going to be there. It's going to be a magical event. It's going to be super special. You're going to get so much overstimulation of social media posts on this because so many people are going to be there posting it in their stories, on their feeds, going live, doing all that stuff. It's something you got to see in person. You got to be a part of, especially in a place like Texas.
Absolutely.
And not stop. We have to keep, the pedal to the metal. We have to keep showing up in numbers. And I'll reiterate, this is the beginning. This is the beginning because it's the beginning of the end of marijuana prohibition in Texas.
Amen.
Testify.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode, folks. And like everybody's pointed out, and we can't reiterate enough, if you can possibly make it to Fort Worth on October 14th from 12 to 7 p.m., Burnett Park in downtown Fort Worth, that's the place to be in Texas if you're in a cannabis advocacy mood. Absolutely. And other than that, I can tell you that, we love having you here and we'd love to have you come back and watch more episodes. We have excellent guests every week like Shaun, and we want to thank Shaun for joining us and welcome him back anytime in the future. That's going to do it for this week, folks, and we'll see you next time.